everybody. I'm Tammy.
And I'm Jenkins.
And this is Confused, the show that answers your questions that you write to us.
This week's question comes from Beth and Roger of Piqua, Ohio. Beth and Roger write, Dear Confused, we were digging in our backyard when...
Are we almost done? My arms are so sore.
Yes, just keep going. It's not even that hard. My dad rocks at this sort of stuff.
Then why isn't he helping us?
I don't know. He says it's past his time or something like that.
Why are we doing this again?
To find China. Duh. If we'd started earlier, we'd be on the other side of the world by now.
Fine, but it better be awesome. What is it?
I don't know.
How'd it get there?
I don't know. It looks like something my dog would eat.
I'm so confused.
We think it might be a dinosaur bone. Do you think you can help us?
Well, what are we waiting for? Let's open up the bone they sent us.
Well, Tammy, I don't think this is a dinosaur bone.
It definitely isn't. Dinosaur bones aren't found 3 feet underground in your backyard. This was probably buried by a dog.
Dinosaur bones are found as fossils. Fossils are the preserved remains of dinosaurs and other organisms that lived millions of years ago and are found in rocks, not dirt.
Dinosaur fossils are especially cool because of how big some of them were. Some of them grew to be over 50 feet tall and weigh over 70 tons. That's 14 elephants.
Wow. Although some dinosaurs were as small as chickens.
The reason dinosaurs are fossil now is because they lived such a long time ago. The last dinosaurs died about 65 million years ago.
Now, hold on just a minute.
Oh, great. It's Jeff.
That's right, folks. My name's Jeff.
What?
Well,
What happened to you, Jeff?
Well, to make a long story short, I tripped over one of my beautiful chickens, and I broke my arm.
then why are you here?
Because I heard you talking about dinosaurs. You're talking nonsense.
What do you mean?
You can't go around saying dinosaurs are real. That's absurd. Dinosaurs are just things people invented so they could make awesome movies and TV shows.
That's simply not true.
That's Spielberg. And if there were so many dinosaurs back then, why aren't there any alive today?
Well, they all died.
Yeah, but how?
We don't know.
You see, I win.
But
No,
we do know somebody who does.
That's right, Jeff. We might not know, but an expert does.
Jeff, it's time you go ask the expert. He'll tell you anything you want to know about dinosaurs.
I'm not going anywhere. Not in my condition.
Well, then who's going to go, Jeff?
I know. We can call my cousin Carl. Yeah, I know he would love to talk to this expert.
Go ahead.
Call him up.
Go ahead.
Carl! Hey, yeah, it's cousin Jeff. Yeah, the chickens are really cute. Listen, I'm trying to prove Tammy and Jenkins wrong. Can you believe they actually think dinosaurs are real? Okay, yeah. Yeah. Anyway, could you go and talk to this expert they found? I can't walk there. I broke my arm. Knew I could count on you, Carl. Now go show the expert who the real geniuses are. Carl's gonna make a fool out of you guys.
We'll see about that.
Oh, cute.
Hello, my name's Carl.
Nice to meet you, Carl. I'm Professor Larry Whitmer, and welcome to Whitmer Lab at Ohio University.
Okay, so first question. What makes you such a dinosaur expert?
Well, Carl, I actually kind of think I've been a dino expert since I was like 6 or 7. At least I thought so when I was that age. I always loved dinosaurs, and I read all about them, and asked my parents to take me to the library and the museum so I could learn more about dinosaurs. A lot of kids seem to grow out of it, but I never did. So I went off to college and eventually graduate school, and eventually, with a lot of training and learning, I became a professional scientist that studies life of the past. I became a professional paleontologist.
Okay. Well, if there were dinosaurs millions of years ago, how come there aren't any now?
Well, actually, there are dinosaurs surrounding us today. A lot of people think the dinosaurs went completely extinct 65 million years ago. It turns out that one kind of dinosaur survived. We call them birds. Birds are living dinosaurs. In fact, we can go back and look at something like this right here. This is the delicate little skull of a cardinal that could be at your feeder right now eating sunflower seeds. The cardinal that we see at our feeders today are more closely related to this gigantic T-Rex than T-Rex is to this plant-eating dinosaur called Protoceratops. So dinosaurs didn't become extinct. There are a kind of dinosaur living today, descendants of predatory dinosaurs like Tyrannosaurus and Velociraptor. We call them birds.
Okay. Now, how do we have all these dinosaur bones? How does that work?
Well, dinosaur bones are very rare because it's hard to become a fossil. Although animals are dying all the time, all over the world, and have since the beginning of time, for an animal to become a fossil, it's a very, very rare thing. A lot of things can happen to it to prevent it from becoming a fossil. So a carcass of a dead animal has to get washed into a river or a lake or something like that and get covered over with sand and other kinds of dirt. That doesn't mean anybody's going to find it and it's going to show up in a museum or a research lab like this. But what may eventually happen is it may wither out of the ground a little bit. Much like this skull of this Asian tyrannosaur right here, where we can actually see some of the rock still within the skull. We find these things, we bring them back to the laboratory, and we very carefully remove that rock using very fine tools. Fossils are very rare. Finding those fossils is even harder. But when we do, we have treasures that tell us something about the past.
How do you learn so much about dinosaurs just from these bones?
Well, the bones tell us a lot. The bones don't tell us everything because these bones were actually clothed with all kinds of other tissues like muscles and blood vessels and nerves. So for instance, if we look at something like this Velociraptor here, we can see little things within the bone. Of course we can see teeth, but we see openings and bumps and grooves, like we can see this opening right here. That's the eye socket, that's where we know the eye is, and this is where the nose is. There's lots of more subtle different structures that we see associated with these skulls. To really understand them, we need to look at animals that still have all of the tissues that time has stripped away. Those are animals that are still living today, like relatives of dinosaurs like birds and crocodilians and lizards. Animals that still have all those tissues, and then we can see how they actually relate to the bone. By putting all these different clues together, clues from the dinosaurs, clues from the modern day relatives of dinosaurs, we can start to get a pretty clear picture of what dinosaurs were like in the past.
Okay, well, thanks for having me.
Thanks so much, Carl. Really appreciate you coming by. Come back anytime.
You have a nice day.
Thank you.
Wow, that's awesome. I didn't know all that. So the dinosaurs didn't really all die out, if you think about it.
Yeah, I can't believe that the ducks at the park and my pet bird are related to the dinosaurs that lived millions of years ago.
Makes me want to become a dino expert myself.
So now do you believe us, Jeff?
I still don't buy it. There's no way my chickens are part dinosaur.
We gotta convince Jeff he's wrong about dinosaurs.
I mean, birds can't be the only animals that are living dinosaurs.
Hey, Jeff is right.
What?
There's got to be other animals today that are living dinosaurs.
You know what I think we should do? We should take a field trip to find out.
Yeah, where are we going to go this time?
Hopefully to a chicken farm.
Everybody, my name's Dr. Tew and I work with the Ohio Center for Aquaculture Research and Development. And today we're going to have an encounter with a living dinosaur. Does that sound cool?
Yeah.
Did you even think that there were some dinosaurs still living today?
No.
I know, it's kind of unusual, but here we have one right here. It's a sturgeon. It's a type of fish. One of the fish that we research here at our center is the sturgeon. There are 29 species of sturgeon around the world, 4 of them in North America. The one that is native to Ohio is the lake sturgeon, and we have about a 30-year-old lake sturgeon with us here today. Sturgeon are unique in that they're the longest living freshwater fish in North America, many of the females living to 150 years old and the males living to 100 years. They're also the biggest freshwater fish in North America, getting up to sizes of 9 feet long in their golden years. I'm going to show you guys what 9 feet looks like. Hold me into that. How long do you think this one is here? He's about that long. He's about 3.5 feet. But look at this. He has cousins out there that are 9 feet long. Can you imagine seeing a fish that big? That would be so cool. So this is the oldest fish and the biggest fish in North America. The reason that a sturgeon is considered so prehistoric is because it dates back to the Cretaceous period, where fossil records of the bony scutes that run across their back still exist today. Even though the dinosaurs didn't survive the volcanoes that came afterward, the sturgeon survived and is with us 150 million years later. The sturgeon itself has some very unique adaptations that have allowed it to live this long. The biggest one being its size. Because it is so large, it has very few predators other than man. It has some really neat features that go along with its lifestyle and habitat. Sturgeon live in lakes and rivers, living along the bottom in the mud, so their brown color on the top helps them blend into their environment at the bottom of the rivers and the lakes. So what do you think he eats? What lives in the mud? Plankton lives in the mud. He eats a little plankton. Snails, clams. He stirs up the mud, and any little animals he can find in the mud, that's what he eats. And he uses those whiskers to feel along the bottom of the lake or the river to find his food, because this is kind of weird, but look, where are his eyes? His eyes are on top of his head, aren't they? So he can't see his food, so he has to use those whiskers to find his food. The sturgeon has a tube-like mouth, but has no teeth, but it has a very strong stomach for digestion. So its tube-like mouth extends down to the mud and sucks up the crabs and snails, which then are digested by its muscular stomach. So today you had your first encounter with a living dinosaur. Now when somebody says the dinosaurs are extinct, you can say, oh, I know there's one still left.
Oh, I didn't see you there. Well, I just finished reading a riveting tale about a penguin who had found but that's a story for another time. I'm about to start reading a new story. All right, this one is called Perfect Chemistry. Would you like to hear it? Oh, what am I saying? Of course you would. Let's begin. Once upon a time, there was a lonely oxygen molecule who traveled the world looking for a friend. He traveled far and wide. Oxygen could be found anywhere. From the tops of the highest mountains to the bottom of the deep blue sea. One day, he found someone who wanted to be friends with him. His name was Carbon. The bond between carbon and oxygen was very strong. They traveled everywhere together. However, oxygen was still not happy. Carbon liked being around fire and dirty factories, which oxygen hated. Oxygen was glad he finally found a friend, but no one else seemed to be happy wherever he went. Oxygen wanted to help people, not hurt them. Oxygen finally broke his bond with Carbon and went back to traveling the world. Searching for what seemed like forever, Oxygen was about to give up. But then he saw something rather unusual. He saw two molecules bonded together. However, these molecules didn't look happy either. In fact, they looked just as lonely as Oxygen. Nervous, Oxygen approached the two molecules and asked if they wanted to be friends. Their faces lit with glee and immediately bonded themselves with Oxygen. Oxygen hadn't found just one friend, he found two. Their names were Hydrogen and Hydrogen. Wherever they traveled, people and animals all over the world loved these three friends. No one was lonely ever again. And that's what we call perfect chemistry. What a heartwarming tale. Now, if you'll excuse me, it's time for me to go call my mother, but stick around. We have more Confused coming your way.
Hey kids, welcome to Curiosity Corner. My name's Brittany, and I thought since we're learning about dinosaurs, it would be really cool if we could make our own fossils. What we're going to need is 4 cups of flour, 1 cup of salt, and 1.5 cups of water. So the first thing we need to do is get a bowl and a spoon, and we're going to mix all of our ingredients together. So first things first, flour, and then the salt, and last but not least, water. Then you just mix them up until you've got a thick dough. While I'm mixing, do you guys want to hear a dinosaur joke? What do you call a sleepy T-Rex? A dino snore. So once we're all done mixing, our dough should look something kind of like this. So what you have to do is take a piece of dough and you kind of flatten it out. Just use your hands. If you're really creative, you can use a rolling pin. And then you take whatever you're going to make your fossils with. You can use seashells, plastic dinosaurs, anything really. I'm going to be using an army man today. So you take it and you press it into the dough. Make sure you get it in there really good. And then you take it out. It should look something like this. And then once you've got all the fossils you want to make, you put them in the oven at 350 degrees for about an hour. Make sure your parents help you with this. We don't want you kids to get hurt. Once they're done in the oven, they should look something like this. We made a bone. And then all you gotta do is decide what you're going to do with your fossils. I think I might give mine to Jeff for his birthday. I think he'd like that. Thanks for joining us here in Curiosity Corner. Bye!
One year ago, we received an email from Colton. Hi, I have a question. I want to know what could happen if you never got out of a chair. Well, Colton, here at Confused, we took your question to heart. We've been researching the effects of chair sitting for an entire year. And now, we are ready to present the results of our research. There you have it, Colton.
So, those fish things are dinosaurs?
They're called sturgeon, Jeff.
See, guys, there are lots of dinosaurs that haven't died out.
Yeah, every time you see a sturgeon, it's kind of like seeing a stegosaurus or a pterodactyl.
Those dinos are even more awesome than they show in the movies, especially now that I know that they're still around.
And if you don't live near any prehistoric sturgeon, many museums have full dinosaur skeletons to look at. Thanks to all those fossils in museums, you can see exactly how short T-Rex's arms were, even if they aren't around today.
Make no bones about it, dinosaurs are pretty amazing creatures.
Yeah. Well, that's all the time we have for today. So thanks for watching
Confused.
And remember,
Be curious!